Howdy, it's Tubalcain once again, and here I am standing before the Bridgeport Mill in my basement workshop, and I've got a little project that I'm going to tackle here momentarily, and that is to make myself a tool that I like to call a nut buddy, although that may be a trade name. But what I'm going to do here is make a wrench that is also a hammer, and I want it to fit all of these 3/4 inch bolts that we have and nuts that we have on a Bridgeport Mill. So these are all 3/4. These 4 here on the front, the bolt right here to tilt the head, these 3 bolts, and then there are a series of bolts back here on the turret. We don't turn them very often, but there's 1, 2 here and 2 on the other side, and then 1 here and 1 here. They're all the same size, as is the drawbar nut up on the top. And that is the one that most of us use most often, more than any of the others. And that's the one that I am addressing in this video. When I change a collet, as you do as well, on the Bridgeport, the first thing we do, of course, is hold the brake with one hand, and we loosen this drawbar with the other hand. But that does not release the tool from the collet normally. So once we get a half a turn or so on it, the next thing we do is to tap it ever so lightly with a brass or lead hammer to release the collet. But that requires 2 different tools, and that's what I want to get around here, and I want one tool that will do both jobs. If you're anything like me, you probably got 30 or 40 3/4 inch wrenches around your house or your garage, and some of them being quality ones and some marginal. But you certainly don't want to do this with one of your Mac or Snap-on wrenches, so use one of the off brands. And I've got several here. This particular one, well, these are all made in USA, but I think a long time ago. But they aren't major brands. For instance, this is a Westline. I never heard of it. But you need to drill a hole in it, and this is a 1/4 inch hole. And I thought that I would need a carbide bit to do that, and it drilled rather easily, so the quality of this steel probably is not that great. But if you were to drill a hole in a Snap-on, I suppose that you would need a carbide bit, but you're not going to do that. And yes, this will probably weaken the tool at this point, but I don't care. That's a 3/4 inch wrench. And I may also do it with one of these, and there's a possibility of cutting this off. But these wrenches here are a little bit longer for more leverage. Also, we got the offset here that almost makes it look like a hammer. Now this is a piece of brass, and that weighs 9.5 ounces. And I'm going to bolt it on right there, or right here, and then I've got a combination hammer and wrench. This brass is about 1 5/8 diameter. It was just in my scrap box, and it was already this length, approximately a little over 3/4, but I'm going to face both sides, and it'll come down to 3/4 and probably reduce the weight to about 9 ounces, and that's not that critical anyway, because some of you just smack the top of the nut with the wrench itself, just the weight of the wrench, and sometimes that does the job as well. Also, if you have any lead around that is about this size, that would work. I don't like using steel. It should be some kind of soft material in my opinion, but I have seen an awful lot of mushroomed heads on the drawbars of Bridgeport Mills. I have the brass chucked up in a closing lathe 3-jaw chuck, and somebody had already machined a little bit on this side. I suppose they parted it off, and a 1/4 inch hole started, and it's a little wobbly and off center, but I don't care. I'm drilling right into that. I don't even need a center drill. And it's very soft brass, drilling quite nicely. And I'm going to use a 1/4 inch bolt, needless to say. That's all it took to drill a hole through that soft brass. Next, I'll phase off the brass. It was saw cut, so it's going to be kind of wobbly. And I just want to clean it up. That cleaned it up. Not too concerned about the finish at all. Now I'll put a nice chamfer on it. And here's my chamfer. That's it. Now I will counterbore the brass with a 3/8 drill, so that when I use this 1/4 20 socket head cap screw, it will be recessed or counterbored. So that's about a 1/4 inch deep. That's it. There it is, counterbored. Now on the back side, the only thing I did was to put the chamfer on here. That step was on there already and it'll serve me just fine. And the cap screw goes in just a little bit below the surface. Now I'm going to bolt it onto the wrench here and see what we got. Okay. I got it tightened down to the wrench. I sawed off the excess of that hardened cap screw with the Dremel tool and then ground it off smooth. I hope it doesn't look like too much of a monstrosity. It is definitely heavy, feels like a hammer. Let's go over to the machine and try it out. Now let's give it a try. All I gotta do is hold on to the brake, loosen it. I'm holding on to the end mill with my left hand. And there it is, the nut buddy. This is Tubalcain saying so long for now.